Hello and welcome to today's GCS training session. My name is Abdel Jabbar and I am a support engineer with Grandstream Networks. In this training session, we will introduce the Grandstream Access Points GWN series and explain the wireless technology built into them to deliver a reliable and seamless Wi-Fi experience to users. This course is designed to provide you with the knowledge and skills needed not only to pass the GCS certification exam, but also to be able to successfully install, configure, manage, and deploy Grandstream access points. Before we get started, I would like to remind you of the certification process and requirements. GCS or Grandstream Certified Specialist is the first step towards becoming a Grandstream certified professional. There are no prerequisites to register and take the GCS exam for the networking solution. I recommend that you visit the Grandstream Academy website at https://academy.grandstream.com to learn about the on-demand and scheduled GCS training sessions and also the exams. So, after you have successfully passed the GCS exam, you will be awarded a certification that is valid for 1 year. So you will need to renew the certification by taking the GCS renewal exam. You can always visit the Grandstream Academy website to take the certification renewal exam. All right, so this is the agenda for this training session. First, I will introduce the Grandstream GWN access points and highlight the hardware and software capabilities of each model. Next, we will describe the typical wireless deployment scenarios such as a small office, commercial buildings, multi-floor location, and also warehouses. We will also cover the installation hardware components and interfaces built into each model and show you how to access the web interface of the access point. After that, we will learn about the application features that allow the wireless administrator to secure, manage, control, and optimize the wireless network with the Grandstream GWN access points. We will review the powerful and intuitive management systems that offer a centralized management interface of all the GWN access points. And we will wrap up this session with a few tips for taking the GCS exam. First, let's introduce the Grandstream GWN series. So for the indoor access points, Grandstream has 6 models designed to provide high-performance wireless and optimized for secure and reliable user experience. The indoor GWN access points deliver great Wi-Fi coverage range and support a large number of clients per AP. One important thing to note is that all the indoor GWN models have an integrated controller with a centralized management of up to 50 GWN access points. In other words, you can choose one of the access points and use it as the controller of other GWN access points in your local network. The integrated controller is free and built into the access point, so there are no licensing fees associated with that service. GWN 7602 is the only model that does not include an integrated controller, but can still be controlled and managed by other models. So the indoor GWN models are GWN 7610, GWN 7630, GWN 7615, GWN 7600, GWN 7605, and the compact access point GWN 7602. Each of these models has different technical specifications and hardware capabilities that I will cover in the next slides. And based on these technical specifications, you get to choose the right model that fits your deployment. For the outdoor access points, GrandStream offers three models: GWN 76LR, GWN 7630LR, and GWN 7605LR. These models are designed to provide extended coverage range for both indoor and outdoor deployments thanks to their powerful antennas and weatherproof design. All outdoor GWN models use a controllerless distributed management design and have an embedded controller that can be accessed from the web interface of the access point. This allows each access point to manage a network of between 30 and 50 GWN access points without a single point of failure. And what I mean by this, if the controller or the master goes down for a reason, the slave access points will still provide Wi-Fi connection to clients. So the three models offer advanced QoS and fast transition standards, and they support the legacy and new Wi-Fi standards 802.11a/b/g/n and AC, including Wave 2. Also, it is worth mentioning that each access point, regardless of the model, can be configured with up to 16 SSIDs, which gives you more flexibility in terms of the management of the wireless groups. So in terms of the technical specifications and capabilities of each model, we start with the Enterprise 802.11ac indoor access point GWN 7610. This model supports more than 250 Wi-Fi concurrent clients. It provides an aggregate throughput of up to 1.75 gigabits per second, and the coverage range of this model extends to approximately 175 meters. And this model is equipped with 3 dual-band radio antennas that can transmit and receive over 3 spatial streams. So 3 by 3 essentially means the access point has 3 transmit antennas and 3 receive antennas. And the number 3 after the colon is the number of supported spatial streams. GWN 7610 uses the MIMO technology, which is basically a multiplexing technique that allows the access point to transmit over the 3 antennas on the same channel. This model uses single-user MIMO technology compared to multi-user MIMO technology supported on other models. I will explain the difference between the two technologies when we review a GWN model with multi-user MIMO. Regarding the Wi-Fi encryption protocols, the GWN 7610 supports WEP, WPA, WPA2 pre-shared key, WPA and WPA2 enterprise. And just a quick review of these security protocols. WEP stands for Wired Equivalent Privacy, and that was the original encryption protocol developed for wireless networks. WEP was designed to provide the same level of security as wired networks. However, WEP has many serious security flaws, and that is why we do not recommend using it unless you have some legacy clients that still requires the use of WEP. For WPA or Wi-Fi protected access was introduced as a security enhancement over WEP. And most current WPA implementations use pre-shared key and commonly referred as WPA personal. And they use also the TKIP, or which stands for Temporal Key Integrity Protocol for WPA Enterprise. And WPA2, which stands for Wi-Fi Protected Access version 2, is the most secure among these encryption protocols, and we always recommend using WPA2 because it uses AES or Advanced Encryption Standard instead of TKIP. So GWN 7610 supports the legacy and new standards 802.11ac and the legacy standards like 802.11abgn, and it offers simultaneous dual-band Wi-Fi signals on both 2.4 GHz and 5 GHz, which means that both bands can be used simultaneously. And GWN 7610 has an embedded controller for auto discovery, auto provision, and management of up to 50 GWN access points. The 50 GWN access points can be of any model from the GWN series. Other specifications related to this model is you can create up to 16 SSIDs, and it has 2 gigabit wireline ports, and one of them supports PoE and PoE+. The next model is the mid-tier 802.11ac access point to GWN 7600. This model supports the 802.11ac Wave 2 standard, which is a second version of 802.11ac standard, and it introduced some enhancements to increase the data rate of the access point and to support more connected devices by adding new wireless capabilities such as multi-user MIMO technology and the support of up to 4 spatial streams per access point, and the use of wider channels of up to 160 MHz. GWN 7600 supports more concurrent clients compared to GWN 7610. This model can provide wireless connection to more than 450 concurrent clients and provides an aggregate throughput of 1.27 gigabits per second, which makes it an ideal solution for high-density environments. This model is built with 2 dual-band antennas with multi-user MIMO technology. As previously mentioned, multi-user MIMO technology was introduced in 802.11ac Wave 2. So let us explain what MIMO is and the difference between multi-user MIMO and single-user MIMO. MIMO stands for multiple input, multiple output, and it increases the transmission capacity of the access point by using multiple antennas to transmit data signals to multiple clients over the same channel. There are 2 types of MIMO technology. There is single-user MIMO and a multi-user MIMO. The single-user MIMO, which was introduced in the 802.11n standard, allows the access point to use multiple streams for transmission depending on the available number of antennas. So for example, GWN 7610, which uses single-user MIMO technology, has 3 antennas with 3 spatial streams. If 3 wireless clients are connected, GWN 7610 can dedicate 1 stream to each client. However, the limitation of single-user MIMO is that the AP will only be able to talk to 1 wireless client at a time. And on the other hand, multi-user MIMO technology was included in the 802.11ac Wave 2 standard, and it allows the access point to talk to multiple wireless clients simultaneously by using a dedicated stream for each client, which reduces the wait time of the wireless clients and also improves the throughput. The other technology supported by GWN 7600 is beamforming, and usually when the access point broadcasts a signal, it transmits in an omnidirectional fashion. With beamforming, the access point determines the location of the client and focuses the signal in the direction of that specific client. So like GWN 7610, this model supports the encryption protocols WEP, WPA, WPA2, and it comes with a built-in controller that you can use to manage and control up to 30 access points. Next, we have the 802.11ac Wave 2 access point GWN 7605. This model is designed for a medium density environment and can provide wireless connection to more than 100 concurrent clients. It delivers a wireless throughput of up to 1.27 gigabits per second and a coverage range of up to 165 meters. One important thing to note about the aggregate throughput is that this number can be impacted by multiple factors, such as the distance from the client device and interference from other devices such as microwaves, Bluetooth devices, cordless phones, and neighboring access points. You can still maximize the throughput by mounting the access point correctly and properly and away from any sources of interference such as power cables. GWN 7605 is a dual-band 2x2 access point and uses multi-user MIMO technology with beamforming, as we explained previously. The integrated user-friendly controller on GWN 7605 allows the management and provisioning of up to 50 GWN access points. As for all the GrandStream access points, this model is designed with anti-hacking secure boot, which is a security mechanism that allows the access point to boot using the integral software that is validated and authenticated with a unique digital certificate. And another security enhancement on this model is the support of the wireless encryption protocol WPA3, which I will explain in the next slide. Next, we have the 802.11ac Wave 2 Wi-Fi access point to GWN 7615, designed for medium to high user density environments. GWN 7615 provides a wireless capacity of 200 plus concurrent clients and an aggregate throughput of 1.75 gigabits per second. It offers dual-band 3x3 multi-user MIMO technology and a sophisticated antenna design for expanded Wi-Fi coverage range of up to 175 meters. You can also use this model as a controller to manage up to 50 GWN APs. And regarding the wireless encryption protocols, this model now supports WPA3, which was introduced to address the WPA2 security shortcomings to better secure wireless communication between the access point and the wireless client. And it is believed that WPA3 will mitigate security issues posed by weak wireless passwords. In other words, even if you are using a weak password, the WPA3 standard will protect against brute force attacks. And just keep in mind that WPA3 can be implemented only when your wireless devices also support it. So this is the high performance 802.11ac Wave 2 Wi-Fi access point to GWN 7630, designed for medium to high user density environment, multiple floor offices, commercial locations, and branch offices. It offers dual band 4x4 multi-user MIMO technology and sophisticated antenna design for maximum network throughput of 2.33 gigabits per second and expanded Wi-Fi coverage range of up to 175 meters. It handles up to 200 concurrent wireless connections, and GWN 7630 is an ideal access point for applications and devices that require high data throughput. And to ensure easy installation and management, the GWN 7630 uses a controllerless distributed network management design in which the controller is embedded within the product's web user interface and can be used to manage and control up to 50 GWN APs. All of the models that we reviewed so far have dual gigabit network ports with support for both PoE and PoE+. And the last model in the indoor access points category is the GWN 7602. This is a compact Wi-Fi access point designed for small businesses, homes, offices, hotel rooms, and more. It has 3 fast Ethernet ports to provide wired connection to IP phones, computers, and similar devices that require Ethernet connection, while also providing an uplink gigabit network port with the PoE and PoE+. 2 of the fast Ethernet LAN ports are built with PSE, which basically means they can provide power to PoE devices like IP phones. The GWN 7602 offers dual band 2x2 single user MIMO technology and supports up to 80 clients and 100 meter coverage range. This is the only model in the GWN series that does not have an integrated controller, and but you can still manage it from the controller of the other GWN access points. So we covered the hardware and software specifications of the Grandstream indoor access points. So now let us review the same specifications for the Grandstream outdoor access points. And the first model that I would like to introduce is GWN 7600 LR. This is a powerful outdoor long-range access point featuring weatherproof casing and heat-resistant technology. It meets the IP66 standard requirements, and GWN 76LR can provide wireless connection to up to 450 concurrent users and wireless throughput of up to 1.27 gigabits per second. It comes equipped with dual band 2x2 multi-user MIMO with beamforming technology and sophisticated antenna design for extended Wi-Fi coverage range of up to 300 meters. It has an embedded controller for auto discovery, auto provision, and management of up to 30 GWN APs independently without needing a separate controller hardware or software and without a single point of failure. Again, without single point of failure, I mean by that, if the master or the controller goes down, the other access point can still provide wireless connection to clients. The access point ships with a mount bracket and can be mounted on the wall or on the pole. Next, we have the Enterprise 802.11 AC Wave 2 Outdoor Long Range Wi-Fi Access Point GWN 7605 LR. And this model supports more than 100 concurrent Wi-Fi client devices. It provides a data rate of 1.27 gigabits per second. In terms of the coverage range, it offers 250 meters. It is a dual band 2x2 multi-user MIMO technology. The 2 antennas are detachable and changeable, and they broadcast the signal in omnidirectional fashion. It also supports the Wi-Fi encryption protocols WEP, WPA, WPA2. It has an embedded controller for auto discovery, auto provision, and management of up to 50 GWN access points. And the third model in the outdoor access points is the GWN 7630. So this model supports 802.11ac Wave 2. It provides wireless connection to more than 200 concurrent Wi-Fi clients and an aggregate throughput of 2.33 gigabits per second. It has dual gigabit ports, and one of them supports PoE. With the antennas, with the 4 antennas, you can get up to 300 meter coverage range. It works on both bands, 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, and it is a 4x4 access point, and it supports the multi-user MIMO technology that we explained earlier. The 4 antennas are detachable and changeable, so if something goes wrong with one antenna, you can always switch it with another one that is working. And for the wireless encryption protocols, it supports WEP, WPA, WPA2, and I believe the latest firmware also supports WPA3. It has an embedded controller for auto discovery, auto provision, and management of up to 50 GWN access points. So this is a summary. It's like a comparison chart of the hardware specifications of each model. So as you can see, all the Grandstream indoor access points support the legacy standards and the new standard 802.11ac, including Wave 2. The only 2 models that don't support Wave 2 are GWN 7610 and GWN 7602. And regarding the antennas, all indoor access points use internal antennas designed to transmit and receive on both bands, 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. So by looking at this chart, you will notice that all indoor GWN access points have an antenna gain of 3 dBi, with the exception of GWN 7630, which has an antenna gain of 4 and 5 dBi on 2.4 and 5 gigahertz consecutively. The antenna gain is basically an indication of how strong a signal an antenna can transmit and receive, and that's something that you can also adjust from the web interface of the access points, where you can use high, medium, or low transmission power. For the Wi-Fi throughput, you will notice that different models offer different aggregate throughput. And what I mean by aggregate throughput is the sum of all data rates delivered to all connected clients. In other words, the 1.75 per example is not guaranteed per user, because that's the total of the bandwidth on both 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. And the device can only connect to one band, either 5 gigahertz or 2.4 gigahertz. And there are many factors that determine the throughput, so that you should always take into consideration. Such factors include frequency band. So when you use 5 gigahertz band, you are more likely to have more throughput than if you use 2.4 gigahertz. And the advertised throughput can also be impacted by other factors, such as wireless interference, distance from a client, medium contention, and of course the 802.11 standard being used. The legacy standards tend to provide low data rates compared to the new standard like 802.11ac. And for coverage range, all indoor access points provide a great coverage from 100 up to 175 meters. And there are multiple factors that you should be aware of and that contribute to decreasing the coverage range, such as distance, physical barriers, noise, and also an improper positioning of the access point can also play a role in reducing the coverage range that the access point provides. For frequency bands, all Grandstream access points work on both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. And next is DFS channels, and DFS stands for Dynamic Frequency Selection. And this option allows the access point to use the 5 gigahertz frequencies that are usually used by weather and airport radars. And to use these frequencies for Wi-Fi connection, some regulatory agencies like the FCC here in the US requires that the access point should have DFS enabled to allow the access point to verify and detect if a radar is using a particular DFS channel. And when the access point detects that there is a radar in proximity using a specific channel, the AP must not use the same channel and must dynamically start using a channel that is not used by a radar. And the only model that does not support DFS is GWN 7610. For MIMO, we already talked about that. So there are two types. There's single user MIMO and there's multi-user MIMO. The two models that use single user MIMO are GWN 7610 and GWN 7602. All the other models, they use multi-user MIMO. So when it comes to the SSIDs and the number of SSIDs that an access point can broadcast, all of the access points provide 16 SSID per access point, with the exception of GWN 7602, which allows you only to have 4 SSIDs per access point. In terms of the concurrent clients, depending on the model, you can have 250 more client and more on the GWN 7610, and the one that provides more wireless capacity is the GWN 7600 with 450 wireless clients. So all Wi-Fi, all the GWN access points support the encryption protocols, WEP, WPA, WPA2. All of them, they have the anti-hack and secure boot that uses the digital certificate to verify the integrity of the software. For the network protocols supported on the access points, there is the 802.1q, which is the networking standard that supports virtual VLANs. So you can use the access points to create VLANs and assign VLANs to different users. There's also the 802.1p, which essentially provides a mechanism for implementing quality of service at the second layer. So 802.1x, and this is for radius services, usually used with an authentication server. Then we have 802.11e and WMM, and this is a standard used to categorize traffic by having priority levels. And WMM stands for Wi-Fi Multimedia, and as I mentioned, it prioritizes data packets according to 4 categories. So from highest to lowest, you have voice, video, best effort, and background like file downloads and print jobs and other traffic that does not suffer from increased latency. The access points also support the standards 802.11rk. These standards are used for roaming, and we're going to go in more details in one of the next slides to explain and describe how these protocols work and how they can be used to enhance your roaming experience. And the other standard also supported on the access points is 802.11w, which extends strong cryptographic protection and provides data integrity and replay protection for management frames. So this option is an option that you can enable or disable on the access point. Just one thing to remember or to take into consideration when you enable or disable this option is that it works only with devices that support the same standard. And I believe that the latest devices all support that standard, but if you have an old device that doesn't support it and you enable it and force it on the access point, you might start experiencing issues. So that's something that needs to be implemented with caution on the access point. So for the embedded controller, as I mentioned, all the access points have an embedded controller, and the embedded controller can be accessed from the web interface of the access point. So when you log into the access point, You can use the Discover tool to discover other access points in your network environment, and then you can add them to the master or the controller, and then you can start managing them, provisioning them, and also configuring them, like doing the upgrade, the reboots, assigning the access points to different SSIDs, different network groups. So there are so many things that we're going to go through later in one of the slides where we're going to talk more about the embedded controller. One thing to remember is that the only model that doesn't support or doesn't have an embedded controller is the GWN 7602. For the power, so as I mentioned, all the access points have a PoE port, a gigabit PoE port that you can use to power the access points. And all the access points support the PoE standard and PoE plus. And most of them, they have the self-power adaptation upon auto detection of PoE plus. So basically the main difference between the PoE and PoE plus is the amount of power delivered for over each standard, depending on which switch or which PoE you are using. So all the access points have this option, this capability to self-adapt with the amount of power that is provided by the PoE switch. So for the PoE, for example, which is usually referred to with the standard 802.3AF, deliver 15.4 watts. And the PoE Plus, which is also referred to as 802.3AT, can deliver up to 30 watts of power. So these are the same specifications that we went through with the indoor access points. So for the outdoor access points, all of them support the legacy and the new standard, including 802.11ac Wave 2. All of them work on both 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz, and the throughput is different from one model to the other one. So for GWN 76LR, it provides a throughput of 1.27 gigabits per second. For the GWN 7630, this one can provide you with 2.33 gigabits per second, and GWN 7605LR can provide you with up to 1.27 gigabits per second. The coverage range is approximately the same, in the range of 250 and 300 meters. They all support DFS. They are all multi-user MIMO technology, and for the transmission power, they use different power for transmission. So with the GWN 7600LR, it uses a transmission power of 26 dBm. GWN 7630LR uses a transmission power of 27 dBm, and GWN 7605LR uses a transmission power of 24 dBm. For the SSIDs, 7600LR and 7630LR allows you to create up to 16 SSIDs. On GWN 7605, you can have up to 8 SSIDs per AP. The number of concurrent clients is also something that you want to take into consideration when deciding which model to use. And for the other specifications that we mentioned with the indoor access point, they basically the same settings or the same standards or protocols apply to the outdoor GWN access point. Another thing also to take into consideration when deciding which model to use is the number of GWN access points that you can manage from the controller of the access point.